Hey friends, when I was 8 or 9 years old, I built a laboratory in my parents' basement. And I had lots of test tubes and funnels and of course small bottles of chemicals and the clay volcano structure that every child must have. But one of my favorite things to do was pull out my set of litmus test strips. And of course, litmus paper is used for determining the pH level of water or other liquids, the acidity versus the alkalinity. Now I want you to think about one word: motive. You and I think ourselves pretty good at determining the motives of others. We hear them talk and we hear them walk, or we see them work, and we think we can judge what their motives are. But what about our own motives? What about my motive? What about your motive? I believe that in order to determine our own motives, we need a litmus test. But a litmus test outside of ourselves. We need the litmus test of God's Word, and specifically the litmus test of love found in 1 Corinthians 13. To a culture that was me-centered, motive-centered on self-appeasement, self-gratification, self-entertainment, the Apostle Paul is writing to the church at Corinth and telling them what corporate worship is supposed to be all about. It's about not building up ourselves, but building up one another to the praise of God's glorious grace. And he shifts from the second person plural commands, saying, you do this, or this is true about you, to the first person singular, when he shifts to 1 Corinthians 13 in this litmus test of love. Listen carefully as he brings the convicting litmus test of love directly to his own heart. And he begins like this: if I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I've become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. That's like the super preacher. If you can speak with tremendous power, but if you don't have love, it's obnoxious. It's almost like it's annoying. Verse 2, he says, if I have the gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith. So he goes from super preacher to super theologian, and then he moves to super pastor. If I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. And then he goes to super missionary, per se. And if I give all my possessions to feed the poor, and if I surrender my body to be burned, but do not have love, it profits me nothing. That's the litmus test of love. Paul is saying love is essential, not optional. Here's a paraphrase that I wrote in order to let this litmus test soak into my own heart and determine my own motives. I wrote this: if I am the most powerful preacher, the best Bible teacher in all the world, communicating with incredible creativity and smoothness of speech and amazing vocabulary, but do not have love, I would be as obnoxious as a crash of cymbals that rattles my eardrums, or a blaring alarm clock at 5 a.m. in the morning. Shut it off! If I have profound insight into God's plans, understand all the details of theology, and comprehend the most obscure points of eschatology, yet do not have love toward my brothers and sisters, then my entire life equals nothing. Vapor. If I have unshakably great faith to believe God for the impossible, to remove mountains of addiction, depression, immorality, abuse, anger, violence, to believe God can do anything, but do not have love, it is of no benefit whatsoever. And if I give away everything I own, my job, house, cars, family heirlooms, pots and pans, everything in order to feed the poor and serve full-time on a foreign mission field, and if I surrender to martyrdom at the hand of persecutors, but do not have love, it all amounts to no reward at all, no benefit, nothing. Love is essential, not optional. That's the first big point in this 3-part series that I'm starting today called the Litmus Test of Love. Love is essential, not optional. The Spirit-filled life doesn't run without God's love. God's love flowing through you, displayed in you. Love is essential, not optional, for all our teaching, for all your work today. When we answer phone calls, as we care for our families, as we lead, as we manage people, as we minister to orphans, as we translate the Bible into other languages, whatever we're doing, love is essential, not optional. That's the first step in the litmus test of love. Love must be our motive today, in everything that we do, in everything that we say.